This is Chad Wade, and you are listening to the Matt Balaker podcast.
Good day, folks. Thank you for tuning in to the Matt Balaker podcast. It makes me feel warm, fuzzy, happy. And if you want to get extra credit, please encourage your friends to like, subscribe, and share. Today's guest is a badass. He's an entrepreneur, mentor, YouTuber, and CEO of UNS Wholesale and owner of 3 retail smoke shops in Kentucky. Please welcome Chad Wade to the program. How you doing, Chad?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Like, I learned of you, not very long ago through YouTube, and you have this engaging personality. You talk. You're an expert in your space. But I'm just curious, like, what motivated you to start a YouTube channel?
I get this question all the time, but so I don't mind to tell it because I tell it the same way every single time. Basically, what I did is I kept watching on the YouTube different smoke shop related stuff. And I would watch these guys talk about it, that you could start a smoke shop for $5,000. No, you couldn't. No, you definitely cannot do that. That's just not possible. And then they would talk about, things within it that were definitely not legal. And if you've watched very much of my stuff, I am a convicted felon, and I spent a little time with the federal system, and I did not want anybody to have to go through that, whether at this county, state, or federal level, because they didn't understand the big picture. And some of the things that was talked about in these videos was just lies, just blatant lies. And I thought maybe I could shed some light on it. And if it drove some business in, okay, cool. If it didn't, I did my good deed for the year, and there we go. But it turned into something. It turned into one of those things where people was asking questions, and I just told the truth. And some people in the industry didn't like that I told the truth, but sometimes when you shine a light in a dark room, you find things in it that aren't as pretty as what they should be.
No. So see, folks out there is some truth on YouTube. They say sunlight is the greatest disinfectant, Chad. So what are some of the issues you saw that you wanted to shed light on?
Well, you cannot start that type of business for $5,000. You also must have all your license to even be involved.
Right.
You must have your federal, state, and local numbers. You must have your tobacco license if you're going to sell tobacco products. And, I just watched them talk about dodging the tax. Ooh. Well, man, you could almost kill someone in America and go free, but if you don't pay the man, there's a problem, because you will go to jail over. And I'm telling you, the federal system is littered with people that owed next to nothing in the big picture, and they turned them into felons.
Right, and they're dumb enough to post it online, so it's not really hard to track.
Yes. And and then of course they'll use that against you in court, of course, because they'll use anything they can against you. But that's the nature of the beast. You get involved with an animal, and it does what it does.
Right. I've heard the saying, like, the school of hard knocks is the best educator, I think.
Well, they will sure knock you as hard as humanly possible and take everything you own if you owe them money.
Right. Well, you've talked pretty candidly, Chad, about your forced vacation.
Yeah.
How do you think that, I guess, helped influence your entrepreneurial spirit?
Well, in all honesty, I've said it repeatedly. It's probably the best thing that ever happened to me. I went from making a lot of money to making nothing and working for someone else again. And but while I was in there, I was around people who had legitimate businesses and had criminal empires. And once you hear both sides of it, you were able to understand quite a bit more about real business. And I didn't know it. And I made clear progress as you can, you can't see it all, but clearly, we've made a lot of progress with the information that I had gotten from both legitimate and illegitimate sources. But once we put those things together, we were able to really make some moves.
Yeah, I mean, you've been on, I guess, the legitimate side for decades now, and I watched your bio. You have a great story. For the listeners out there who are maybe a little bit unfamiliar, you had a kind of tough discussion, or your father mentioned you're going through bankruptcy. Can you give us some background on that, Chad?
So I was going into junior high school, and that's a pretty tough time for any kid, especially a boy, because, he doesn't understand, hey, where's all this hair coming from? Why am I sweating all the time? What's wrong with my skin? Oh my God, look at these girls, why don't they want to talk to me anymore? And then I'm in a small town. The housing crisis happened where banks were no longer lending money. And my father was a building contractor. My dad was developing land, and he was developing neighborhoods. And we lived in the neighborhood that he was developing, down. And so Dad was it was like work from home, but he was working right down the street building homes. Well, when the bank crisis hit, they no longer loaned that money, and Dad had several spec homes built and had people ready to purchase them. The loans fall through, and he still owes for the loan. And they had to have a pretty tough conversation with old Chad. And I won't never forget it, man. And to this very day, there's a certain album I just do not listen to anymore, because when I hear it, I was playing it. I don't know how old you are. How old are you, Matt?
44.
Okay, so you remember the boom boxes and and all that. So I had one of those. My father hated that thing, because I guess being a teenager, I listened to it a little louder than most. And so he came in and he pushed stop, and I won't even forget the song that was on. And I can't hear it today. If I do, I have to turn the radio. If it's playing, it's pretty obscure. And so he says to me, hey, look, we need to talk about something. I'm thinking, well, I didn't do it. I didn't do it.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't me. I had a little brother, I still got a little brother, but I hadn't beat him up or nothing like that. So it wasn't that type of deal. And he says, my mom come in there, and I knew when they both come in there together, the United Front, oh my God, there's something really bad wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So he tells me, he says, hey, we're going to have to file bankruptcy, and everybody in the town's going to talk about it, and everybody's going to know it, and you're going to have a tough time at school over it.
Wow.
And then he quit talking, because my father would deliver information, and that was the end of it. So my next question was, I knew what bankruptcy was. I'd heard that term. I knew that things like that happen, and you lose everything. You lose your homes, your cars, everything's gone, and sure enough, that's what was going to happen. I asked these questions. Yes, that's definitely going to happen. And we're going to move, but we're going to be okay. I can find work. It's not a big deal. I got a lot of skills. Your mom still got her job. Everything's fine. Don't worry about
it. Your life's going to change. Everyone's going to talk about it, but don't worry about it.
Yeah, but it's not a big town. It's not like everybody in the town doesn't know everybody else's business. It's a small southern town in central Kentucky.
Oh, okay.
We're in Campbellsville, Kentucky. It's a small, right in the center, and everybody at the time worked in 2 or 3 different plants, factories. and except for some, and then some had little jobs. It wasn't no big deal. And so we of course I went to school and I knew everybody in my school, and my daughter thinks that's so funny that I knew everybody in school and everybody knew me. And of course, as soon as I get to school, there starts to be some whispering.
Uh-huh.
And so you know how that goes. And so anyway, the kids tend to be little turds that they are. And I have a core group of friends that at this time, and I was pretty popular one minute and the next minute I wasn't.
Wow. So just because of a bankruptcy, you went from the cool kid
Something
to
from status to nothing.
wow.
To nothing. But I still had my friends, and I was able to work out of that. So after, a year or so, the old man gets his feet underneath him, and everything starts to work. But by this time I'm in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And so by this time, there's some other things going on, where I could start earning my own money.
Right.
And I did.
And you went through other routes to earn money, and I mean this honestly, like I'm not making a joke. Do you think you learned more doing that than anything they taught you in school?
I could not understand why I needed algebra. I could not understand what the need, and I understood English. I knew I need to be able to speak properly. I knew I need to be able to act accordingly, and I knew this, and I know I needed my history. I know I needed some basic science. I didn't understand why I needed physics, and that to me to this very day, I think if you know some general principles, I think you go a long way, and I think you should not want to try to let Chat GPT tell you everything, and believe it, but and you definitely don't want to get all your information off YouTube. But still, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about people. I learned a lot about economics and supply and demand, logistics. I learned a lot. I learned a whole lot.
You learned the metric system, I'd imagine.
Oh yeah, yeah. I to this very day will still argue with you that there's 28 grams in an ounce, not 30.
Okay, thank you.
And that is not what they want to talk about. But in all honesty, I mean, I cover all this. I got a book coming out. I cover all this in the book, and it's just I'm probably covered really in depth there.
Well,
But I mean, of course, we're here today, and that's what we're talking about.
well, we'll have to get the book and maybe have you back to promote the book once it's out. But
I'd be glad to do that.
that sounds fun. And you mentioned in a prior interview I saw that kind of this struggle you went through dealing with bankruptcy was influenced you. You said you'll never do that again. You never want to have that conversation with your children.
I told myself when they left the room, I swear to God, I will never have this conversation with my child. This will never happen to me again. And I have lived by that with a vengeance. And I mean it, by any means necessary. But on the other hand, people think I'm crazy because I pay every bill as fast as humanly possible so that I will owe no one ever for anything.
You pay your debts. And I mean, it's one thing to say like, "Oh, I'm never going to go bankrupt." It's a lot harder to implement that. Like, what steps have you taken? I mean, how has it become a reality for you?
Every day when I wake up in the morning, every day between 4:30 and 5 o'clock, I'm awake. Okay, and I got that from prison too. I got that from prison, and I pay all the business credit cards every single morning. Well, I may not pay them completely off, but I pay parts of them off. I pay our lines of credit off. I pay a payment on a car every single week, no matter what. And I have only a commercial building that we owe for, and I have a home that we owe for. And that's it.
That's a good kind of debt. Can you share with our audience what you learned at the flea market? There's an interesting story that I think it was 2007-ish. You got into flea markets. What's
So
this?
Brandon and I'm working with my operations manager then, and he's a young dude, and we were working on housing. We were flipping a house, and he was working with me, and Brandon's like, hey man, I really need to earn some money. I've got to figure out what I'm gonna do, and I gotta get this done. This is great, but it's not paying the bills. I've got to figure this out. And so we get talking about the flea market, and I said, well, let's go to the flea market and we'll walk around and talk about it. And as we're walking through it, up and down the aisles, I don't know if you've ever been to an indoor flea market, but anyway, you up and down the aisles, and we start noticing something, that we were working at a big and tall store, clothing store. We understood exactly how you're supposed to display things, and clothing has to have light shined on it, but this place was kind of dark, and it just seemed to me that nobody could was really selling very much because they wasn't really as bright and vibrant as it could be. And so Brandon says, hey man, why couldn't we sell this incense and do it better than this dude? Well, yeah, we could. And so we get to looking around. We find, at this time, the internet's not what it was. It's still okay, but it's not anything great. And so we find what we're looking for. I order it. We get it in. We put it, in a shop, and we rent a booth out. We put lighting in. We decorated it up, and we did okay with it until it was just slow money. It's very slow, and it wasn't the economy. The economy was already bouncing back. Everything was okay. And so we had a vendor that we were using to buy some incense from, and he tells us, hey man, have you ever thought about adding, glass pipes to it? And so, no, Keith, I don't think we want to do that, blah, 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 because I was very nervous, from my prior history.
Right.
And so he finally talks us into it, right? And so we put this in, and we got one shelf, and we sold that out in the first week. And then we got another shelf of it the following week, because it was only open Saturday and Sunday. And so we were selling out in just a 2-day period of time. And then we got a second shelf of it, and we sold that out in the same week. And then we got another one. So we had a full case now, and we were selling that out per week. And we was making pretty decent money to be sitting there.
And at what point did you think, all right, we want to take this beyond the flea market?
Well, we did that for several months. We expanded all the money. Brandon got his money, so he could, had some, he had spending money. He didn't have a lot of cash. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, we were still putting it right back in, and we were expanding the line, and we were expanding. So we went from a 2 booth to a 4 booth to a 6 booth, and we were just growing it out with inventory. And I was really putting together what I had learned inside, which was to constantly keep the money within the business and growing what you had and turning it into something much larger. And little did I know, we were, I don't know, probably a couple, 2-3 years into it, we opened up a building. And it was way too big for what we had. And we were literally packing up 2 or 3 totes of stuff from the flea market and taking it to the store, and so that we could sell it all week long. And then if we wasn't careful, we wouldn't have enough stuff to put into the flea market for the weekend.
Wow. So this stuff, were you still just doing glassware and accessories, or what?
We were doing glass pipes. We were doing scales. We were doing water pipes. We were doing wooden pipes. We were doing a lot of smoke shop stuff at that time.
Okay. And was this the the origin story of Up in Smoke, or is this a different name?
No, this is the origin. This is the whole origin. Because once we got the store, because people were saying, "I wish he was open all week long. I wish he was open all week long." Because we had all these papers and we had all these, cigarillos and wraps and things, and we had all this stuff. But the problem with it was we were selling it cheaper than everybody else because we had what was known as true pricing. What they were selling for $35, we were selling for $20.
Oh,
And so it didn't take us long to make quite a few enemies all the way within way up the road to another county to the people that was already selling it within the flea market.
okay. And at what point did you transition from actually selling tobacco product, like tobacco, not just accessories?
Well, I was selling cigars. I was putting humidors in all over the city of Louisville.
Okay.
And I had come across this opportunity to put cigars in to like liquor stores, and I even had them, believe it or not, in barber shops, and because they still allowed smoking within buildings at this time. And then all of a sudden, the ordinances come out. They put a stop to all this. And then the liquor stores started figuring, well, hey, I can just build a big humidor, and then I no longer need this service. And so with that, then we were putting it in. We were doing everything with the other and with the flea market. And so I basically threw that out in the garbage and went about our merry way.
Okay. For our listeners out there, Chad, who are maybe unfamiliar, and I've learned kind of recently about this. There's a pretty big chasm or a difference between smoke shops and vape shops. Like not just what they sell, but kind of like the culture.
Yes, there's
What say you?
It's a different world, really. I mean, but what we've done is we've created a hybrid of the two models within what we've done.
Okay.
Vape culture. I don't want to characterize this, but it is very true. These are a particular set of people. And either they want to blow these monster clouds, where they're sitting in their car and it just fogs up the whole thing. They roll the window down. It looks like their car's on fire. You know what I'm talking about.
The dragging clouds, yeah.
Right. Or there's these guys that have the small little vapes and they hit it, and they claim they're trying to quit smoking cigarettes. That's complete, utter nonsense. But anyway, and so that's a whole different culture. They have a whole different look. But then there's the smoke shop crowd. You might want to call them hippies or potheads or whatever they are, But I mean, we had people that was coming into our shop before we was doing a lot of vape that had ties and dresses and cops. We had cops coming in, and not to bust us, but to buy, like kratom.
Customers, yeah.
And yeah, they were customers. And we were having EMTs come in there. One time we had some of the most prominent attorneys because of one of our locations that was coming in, and God only knows what they was buying. But it was very funny that these people was coming in because here's the suit and tie crowd, showing up into the stores now because it was becoming more accepted by mainstream.
Yeah, and approximately what years are these where you're seeing this acceptance?
It's probably 2009.
Okay.
2009, 2010. We start seeing a lot more of the business casual crowd. Now, if you walk into any of our stores, you'll see the polo and khaki crowd right there with the dreadlock and sandal group.
And how do you kind of maintain authenticity to each market?
Well, we just treat everybody with the same amount of respect.
Okay.
And
that's an easy way.
Well, I mean, that's just the truth. We literally hire, and some of my questioning is, hey man, do you have any problem with certain groups of people?
Yeah.
Do you not do you have any issues with black folks? You got any pictures with brown folks? You got any pictures with Asian? How do you feel about gay people? We ask them these questions, and of course that's a no-no. You're not really supposed to ask these questions, but I don't want people working with us that's going to have a problem with other folks.
No.
And so I'm, in Kentucky, we're a right to work state. So at any moment I can fire you anyway. So it really don't matter. But why fire you if I find out, you've got some kind of crazy tattoo on your neck that, affiliates you with some group that hates people? I don't want you.
No.
I don't want those people around. And when I find out that you have some issues, well, you got to go. I can't have that.
I mean, that brings up, like, I think a more important point to a lot of, and I won't get on my soapbox, Chad, but I think part of the beauty of commerce and just sales is like if you have these prejudices, or if you don't like people, you're going to be bad. You're going to be a crappy employee. Like it's like, we can have these classes, but the more we just work together and you say, all right, if I'm serving you, this guy's a good person, even if I maybe had some preconceived notions, and the fact that you're helping me earn a paycheck is just icing on the cake. So,
well, our saying, Brandon and I have always said, there's only one color in business, and it's green.
Amen.
And we don't care about any other color. And I don't, I'll work with any race, nationality, sexuality. I don't care.
Right.
That don't affect me, man, as long as you'll do your job and come to work and not steal everything in the building.
Well said. So you went from one shop to now I think you have three. Well,
we had six at one time, and then COVID happened, and we've had to get rid of some things in the past, and we've moved stores, and we've cut stores, and now of course we have a good core of three, and that's all I want to go with.
Yeah, what are some of the practical changes from having just one location to three?
Well, we had three very quickly in the beginning because there was other products out there that were very fast moving. Of course, legislation changed, and because in our industry, legislation can change, and you instantly don't have a product any longer that you can sell this product. Now you're going to have to find the next big product coming along. At one time, any hemp product was looked at as marijuana. And of course, federally, marijuana is illegal, but in most of the states, it's legal. And so there's always that battle of the hemp bill and what the hemp bill entitles. And, does it entitle flour? Does it entitle, all the Delta products? And so we're constantly hearing this. But before that, there was other products that came and went that were just as hot as what we have today.
Yeah, I mean, you've talked about this on your YouTube channel, and I think it's an important business lesson. Like, I guess a few years ago, e-juice was all the rage. Now it's disposables. Maybe it's kratom or mushroom products or Delta.
Right.
Like, I guess for people on the outside, is that a cause for concern, or is it just like once you have the brick and mortar, like the product's suite changes?
Well, you can in any industry, there's that highs and lows, ebb and flow of customers. The economy, plays a big part in it. But I mean, I can remember at my age of 51 that I can remember when the Ford Mustang was a big deal. Then I remember when it wasn't. Then I remember when it was. And of course, now we have an electric Ford Mustang, and so we're seeing it again. So I can remember, my dad had two of them at one time, but of course they was, the old antique models, and we loved riding in them because they didn't have a top on them. That was great for us. But I remember, it just went just like this. And when it's going to be any industry is like that. I mean, even fast food, same way. I remember when Pizza Hut was a big deal, and now Pizza Hut's not such a big deal.
Right.
And their product. I remember when everybody loved to go to Pizza Hut. Everybody loved to go, but you went and you sat down and you ate, and it was like a whole experience. Now you just pick it up and leave. Maybe they bring it to you.
Right, if you're lucky.
Right, if you're lucky and it shows up and it's not hard as a brick.
Well, there are some commonalities between like any retailer, whether you're selling cars or vaporizers, but in your industry, there are some specific challenges, whether it's legal issues or what. I guess what are some of the specific challenges that vape shop or smoke shop owners deal with?
Well, the biggest one is once somebody decides they want to be in this industry, now we got to find a shop. And in the strip mall, maybe they don't want you in there. And so there's challenges whether you can find the right strip mall operator who will allow you to be in, or anywhere really, even your own standalone building. Sometimes they won't rent to you the moment they find it because they have a certain stigma in their head. Hey man, it's a bunch of dope heads and they're going to be selling weed out of there, and no, that's not what goes on. But you can't, you can't fight the prejudice of the mind.
No.
The mind is what the mind is. They have beliefs, and there's no convincing you. If you told me today, I believe that the sky is pink, well, maybe at some point it is, but
Right.
I'm just saying, for the most part, it's blue, we hope, and,
Yeah.
I understand science well enough to understand why that is. But I mean, we have to understand that they have their own beliefs and it's their building.
Yeah.
So we have to find location to location to location to find out what they're doing and who will accept us, and is that a good location, and what's Google say about it, and what's the analytics tell us about the traffic count, the medium income of that neighborhood, and that's the challenge. That's the biggest challenge, is finding a place to put the store. And then of course there's the legalities of what you're going to put in there.
Mhm.
And so there's a myriad of things that because of the industry we're in, especially with the vape industry, yeah, we're going to let you in, but you can't, be vaping within the building. You can't smoke within the building. That should go without saying. But if you've ever been in a vape shop, it always smells of vape juice. And it's because they're blowing clouds, and the guy behind the counter thinks it's lawful to do that, and now we're seeing ordinances within a lot of cities where you can't vape in restaurants, you can't vape in theater, you can't vape in Walmart or Target, you can't vape in front of the stores. They're treating it just like it's as if it's tobacco, because it does the same thing for people, or to people, because not everybody wants to smell like vape juice.
Mhm. No.
Just like they don't want to smell like cigarette smoke or tobacco or, cigar smoke. They don't want to smell like that.
That makes sense. But I mean, I don't want to go off the rails, but I know there are certain products I've been around where like it doesn't smell at all. Like smoke has a very different
Well,
effect
yeah, some of it,
than
yeah.
vape
Yeah, some like
vapor
the
clouds.
Delta products, I think they don't have that smell. I think that, they have, you're hitting it, it blows out a small cloud, then it dissipates very quickly.
Mhm.
And, so that's not the problem. It it truly comes from the cloud stuff.
Okay.
It comes from all that. And I really believe that's the problem with a lot of it, is because they've rented to people before, and when the landlord walks in, some dude is blowing a monster cloud out, and all he sees is smoke,
Right. They don't know
not
the
vapor.
difference.
They don't
Right.
know the difference, and they don't care.
No. Yeah, and you're fighting prejudice from people who just hate smoke, or they don't, or there's always going to be people who just don't like tobacco and they don't want other people to do it, and that bothers them, and
Well,
it's just like something we have to deal with.
apparently they have the same problem with liquor stores too.
Okay.
And putting them in, and they don't like the liquor store, they don't want the alcohol, they don't want that on their conscience. If somebody drink and drives and kills somebody, I'm responsible for me, but I mean, I can't tell the landlord who to rent to or anything. But I think that as an adult, we know we're only responsible for ourselves.
Right, right. Well, you've kind of expanded your suite of services, Chad. Like you're not just a retail owner. Now you're a wholesaler, but you're also like a consultant and a mentor. So how do you kind of grapple with like, are you just enhancing the competition, or are you just creating a bigger pie for everyone? Like,
Well, I mean, if
how does that work?
what city are you in?
I'm in Southern California, Orange
So
County.
you're in Southern California. I can put you in a shop, and it will not affect me in any way.
Hmm.
Okay, I still do business. We wholesale to people in the city that we're in.
Hmm.
Well, that's counterproductive, Chad. Why? Why is it? I can't service every neighborhood. That's not
No.
possible. There's a gas station on every corner, and chances are a lot of them are the same.
Yeah.
Are they in competition? Maybe. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. There's a Papa John's everywhere you go, but I mean, are they having problems? No, they're still selling a lot of pizza. And that's all we're doing is helping people get up and running. We help them get set up. We help them build out what they're doing. We consult with them, and we teach them how to open up these stores.
Okay.
And best case practices.
And you've mentioned it takes more than $5,000 to open a store. Another line you have, it's people ask, when can I drive a Range Rover? And the answer is when you make enough to afford one.
Yeah, when you put in the work.
When you put in the work. So what are some, I guess, I don't want to say shortcuts, but tips, like what are some of the things that, and you don't have to give away your secrets here. We want to direct traffic to you, but to help people be more successful. Like, I guess, what are some of the best practices that you help implement?
Well, basically we tell them all, that if you think you're going to be an absentee owner, well, you're an idiot. You are going to have to be there. You are going to have to oversee. You're going to have to train. We even have a program where you can come in. We will teach you in a 3-day course how to set your shop up, what you should have in it, how you should go about selling if you've never been into it. And if you don't understand the product, we even explain all the product out to you. We teach you everything you will need to know to open that shop. And it's if they will take it and run with it. I mean, you're going to have to save your money. You're not just going to be going down and leasing a Range Rover and driving around being cool and smoking vape, out the window and all this. And so, but I mean, they are going to have to put in the work. And that's the most important thing is if you're lazy, this is really not a business for you. No. Because while they think that, well, it's simple, anybody can do it. Well, I can tell you hundreds that have closed up in the first year.
Yeah.
Bankrupt.
In your opinion, Chad, like what separates an A+ shop from a so-so one?
I think that they have to have enough product in the store to please the majority of the people that's going to walk through the door and have every ability to service each and every person. And more importantly, they're going to have to listen to each and every one of them and assess their needs, because sometimes maybe all they really need is a glass pipe, and you're going to help them understand the difference in why they don't need this piece to this piece. And it's counterintuitive to believe that somebody doesn't need a $250 water pipe when in fact the $110 one will do just fine and do just the same thing as this name brand one. And we instruct them to tell them that, because there's a good, better, best situation in retail. This is the best product only because it's in name. Mm-hmm. This is a better product because it does the same thing at a less cost. But here's a good product that will do every bit of it. It's just a foreign manufacturer.
Okay. So it kind of comes down to honesty in a sense, like product knowledge, but also the willingness to share this with your customers.
Well, if you watch the videos, I'm constantly telling them, just tell them the truth. And it may not be popular. Always telling people the truth is not popular. It's not. And not everybody wants to hear it because it goes against what they think, when in fact, telling the truth, whether it's popular or not, whether it's good news or bad, I can't be faulted for the truth.
That's a good point. And then you don't have to worry about, what did I say? If the truth is easy to remember.
Yeah, it's really simple. I don't have to keep up with the lie and make more and more and more.
Right. Well, I'm curious, what are some of your favorite aspects of the smoke industry?
I like that it constantly changes.
Mm-hmm.
I like that it's I remember the first vaporizer Brandon and I dealt with, and when it was a fishbowl on top of a piece of metal, and it really was it just got hot and it gave off the vapor. Okay, where now that's not true. Now it's a true vapor product, and the industry has really gone on. I remember we were buying these things for for $25, selling them for $50 and $45. I remember we even sold them. We sold them really cheap at one time, and but it was basically a small globe a fish bowl. It made no sense at all, how this worked, but apparently it did work, but now it has turned into something that is ridiculous. And these things are you put them in the palm of your hand, they're like the roll of quarters, and everybody has got them. And we even have there's little twist on batteries that you'll put carts onto and they vaporize. And it's become very easy to do what was once a piece, it was a piece of equipment, where now it's just something that is a pen, and they call them pen vapes. And so I like that it's done that. And the glass has gotten better, gotten thicker, gotten more color into it. I like that. I like the grinders are more machined, and I like the way all this is it happens, but it's constantly evolving. It never stays the same. The car industry, it's still four wheels, an engine, and, gas, and now they got batteries. It's constantly evolving. And so, but in our industry, we joke all the time. Well, this year will glass make a big comeback? Well, this year, is it going to be papers? This year it's going to be, new vaporizers. It's a joke. It's a constant running joke for us. What's the evolution this year? So you go to the trade show, and I'm going to see it. Mm-hmm. I'm going to see it happen because there's going to be so much of it.
You'll find out soon. Well, yes. We're wrapping up, but I'm curious. Career-wise, what are you most proud of, Chad?
I'm proud of being around people who have built a living around what we're doing. I'm proud to have been able to have worked with many of the people that I still work with, and I'm proud of what we've built from a flea market operation. And they made fun of us for doing it. They laughed at us. This will never go nowhere. You'll never make no living out of it. You've got to find a job. I remember this real well. And then we've turned it into something. And now you keep hearing the whole, we knew you could do it. We knew you was going to turn it into something. Oh, I knew you could do it. And, I can remember, you've done so great, but it wasn't just me, man. If I hadn't had the team that I had with me, if Brandon hadn't been with me as much as he has, if he hasn't done as much as he has for us, I don't know where we'd be. I couldn't have done everything that's been done by myself. I could not have been as big as I am if I hadn't had a good enough team to have done it. And so I'm very proud of that. I'm proud to have had the people along for the journey, and I'm proud that people believed in us enough to keep coming to the stores. And I'm proud that, the people we have in the wholesale, keep buying from us every single week. Believe it or not, they do buy every single week, which is wow, Yeah. And when I get on the phone and I'm talking to people and they're, Chad, you've helped me so much on YouTube, and I'm like, wow. How? Well, I've been watching all your videos for the last 3 months, and and I'm thinking, geez, man, do I have that much content? And yeah, we kind of do, But I'm just really proud of the evolution of it, and that we've been able to stand and withstand all the court battles we've had, and we've been raided, two or three times, and we've had some issues with the state, and they didn't like what we were selling, and so we had to work that out and and get that fixed up. But I'm just really proud of where we are today, and I'm hoping to see it evolve even into more.
Nice. Well, congratulations. And kind of that leads to my final question. What are you most optimistic about?
That this industry will get bigger. And everybody keeps asking me, well, Chad, what if it goes legal federally? Good. Good. And that'll make our industry much more reliable and less shady. And we will come out of the alternative class into the Walmart class, and probably that's not very popular to say because most people believe this will all be in Walmart. No, it won't. No, it won't. It'll all be in Target. No, it won't. You can already buy most stuff. You can buy a lot of stuff on Amazon. You can buy a lot of stuff on Walmart.com. You can buy a lot of stuff on eBay. And even though they tell you it's against their policy, it's still there. But I'm watching it evolve into something much bigger, and I'm looking forward to that. And I know we're going to be able to ride that because we'll anticipate it and we'll work with them rather than against them.
You're with them. So where can people learn more about you, what you're doing, if maybe they need some help? Where can we direct them, Chad?
Well, if you're trying to get a shop up and running, you can go to chadwadetv.com. And you can, we have a lot of info on there. You can also book a Zoom call. You can do mentoring, any kind of coaching you're looking for, anything we can do, you can reach out. If you have any part of you, you got a small question. Hey, Chad, how much money is it going to cost? Well, it just depends. There's a whole set of questions. You can go there if you're a store and you want to go to unswholesale.com and you'd like to place me as your rep, you'll get one-on-one access with me anyway, because I still take orders. I still put in orders. I still fill orders, and it's still a business to us. So if they want to hit me up over there, we'll be glad to do that and work with your store or get you an order out so that you can start that store. And yeah, you can reach me there.
Reaching there.
Oh, and YouTube. Don't forget YouTube. Don't forget YouTube.
And we'll link to this. So Chad, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
Okay, Matt. Thank you for everything. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Matt Balaker podcast. To learn more, please check out mattbalaker.com and encourage your friends to like, subscribe, and share. Really appreciate it.